Hello everyone, welcome to Genox Tech. My name is Steven. I want to use this medium to appreciate those that are subscribed to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for taking your time to subscribe and to share my videos. And if this is your first time you're on this channel, please kindly remember to hit the subscribe button and don't forget as well to turn on the notification button. Anytime I release educative and interesting video like this, you'll be the first person to get the notification. So today, what are we going to be talking about? We're going to be talking about rate limiting in Golang. I released an article a few days back. So I would love to share the articles with us. We are going to go through the articles together, and let's even see what this rate limiting in Golang is all about. So we'll be focusing on two algorithm. Yeah, so this is I'm going to drop the link to this article on the description so that you can just go there and then you can read through yourself. So yeah, we are going to be talking about the rate limiting in Golang. So and then we're going to be focusing on two algorithm, that is the fixed and the sliding windows algorithm. So that is the two algorithm we're going to be focusing on rate limiting. So what is this rate limiting is all about? So I said here that imagine you at an amusement park waiting for a ride. Only a certain number of people are allowed to board each hour. If the line gets too long, anyone arriving has to wait until the next hour before they can board. This idea of restricted access is much more like rate limiting the programming, where we control the number of requests a system can handle to avoid overload. Yeah. So if you are creating an API for security purpose and then to save you from a lot of cost, it's a good practice. You implement rate limiting anytime you are creating an API, so that you don't want anybody to overload your server with multiple requests. It could be maybe that person wants to do any kind of malicious attack on your server, or it could be maybe when the front end is integrating this but your API, there is an error that keeps calling your API multiple times, in which that can cost you a lot. When it comes to the server, now it can cost you a lot. So it's good to implement this rate limiting in your system. So there are various algorithms that you can use, right? But in this tutorial, in this video, I'm going to be talking about two particular one, which is the fixed window and the sliding window in Golang. We're going to be writing the code and how you can implement this as well. We're going to be doing the practical aspect of it. So let's look at this fixed window algorithm. What is it all about? So we said I said here that the fixed window algorithm allows a set number of requests within a defined period. Let's say, for example, like 100 requests per minute. So it means that this is a fixed window. That is, you've already set a particular time that you want within 1 minute. Only this API call should be made 5 times. So that is the fixed window. That is within a minute. Only that anybody that wants to make an API call should only be able to call it 5 times. So after that 1 minute has elapsed, we'll reset the timer back again. So that is what this fixed window rate limiting is all about. That is, you already have a time fixed. So that, and then you set, and you already have a time fixed, and you're saying that anybody that wants to call this API should be able to have access it at a particular number of time. Do you understand now? Maybe you say within 1 minute or within 5 minutes, this person should be able to access your API call 5 times. So, and after that time has elapsed, you reset the time again. So that is how it works. So I give an example here. I think of a fixed window as a bucket here that reset every minute. If your limit is 100 requests per minute, then you have fresh bucket every minute to count requests. So once you hit 100, the bucket overflow, and additional requests are blocked until the next minute. So you won't be able to make any API call again until the next minute. So here is a sample code on how you can do this in Golang. So I'm just going to copy this guy here, right? So let me just go to my VS Code so that we can run it and see how it works here. Okay, so I already created a Golang a main.go here, and this I've already created the folder here. So just create main.go and then paste your code here, the code from the articles. So you can just paste it here. Now I'm going to be explaining what is currently going on here. Let me see if I can zoom a bit. Yeah. So Here we declare our package here, and then we declare our rate limit struct here. We have the number of requests, which is integer. Then we also have the maximum request, which is a type integer as well. Then reset timer, and then we have this lock here. So now I'm going to explain what this lock is doing in a bit. So here now we need to initiate our rate limit here. So we now say this new rate limiter here, we pass in the max request parameter, the interval here, and then we are pointing to this struct here, this rate limiter here. So here we are not trying to do any modifications that we're trying to do based on these parameters being passed to this our new rate limiter here. So we are setting the number of maximum requests, and then we are also resetting the timer based on the interval, which is this time dot duration here. Okay, so here now we declare a function called allowed, right? And then anytime this allow is returning a boolean, that it can either be true or false. So anytime this allowed is called, is either it's returned true or false back. That is, it can allow you to make an API call or stop you from making an API call if that rate limit has already been exceeded. So here now we are trying to call this lock here so that if you want to make another, if there is any program in our application that is trying to access this rate limiter, they will not be able to access it once this lock is called here, right? So that is is going to be able to help us to for optimization purpose, right? That is why we are using this lock here. So we are trying to lock this rate limiter here. That's it, that there is no other system, there is no other function in our code that can make any kind of changes once this allow function is still making use of this rate limiter here, right? So here we are trying to, once this allowed is done making use, modify this rate limiter, what we are trying to do is that we are trying to unlock it for any other function in our application and we want to make use of this rate limiter. I think I'm clear. If you are not clear, you can just read more about lock and then unlock, so you'll be able to have better understanding, right? So in case if you have any question, if my explanation not clear, just let me know. I'm going to answer your question in the comment section. So here now what are we trying to do? We are trying to reset the count when the interval has passed. That is the particular time we set. Maybe we say within 1 minute we should be able to make an API request 5 times to our API. So once that 5 times has elapsed, we need to reset it back, right? We need to reset the time back to 0 so that the timer can start counting per request again. So that's what we're trying to do here. And here we are trying to check if the request can be allowed. So here we are trying to check the request, right? And then we are trying to see the maximum number of requests that we set. You don't forget that all these things are coming from this rate limiter here. Is a struct that we set, right? They're all coming from there. Now here we are increasing the number of requests that is being called, so that by the time we get here, we are returning true if this condition is correct, right? If the number of requests is lower than the maximum number of requests, then we want to allow that request to go through. But if it is above that, if it is greater than that, then we are returning false. So here what are we trying to do here now? We are trying to call the new rate limiter. Here we are passing 5, that is we want to allow 5 requests per minute, right? That's what we are trying to do here, 5 requests per minute. And then we are trying to simulate something like an API request here. So I'm going to run this particular function here then, and let's see what we're going to get. So let me open my terminal here. Okay, so here I'm going to say go run main.go. So, and don't forget that we are trying to sleep 10 seconds here. So once this request, this is just like a simulation, right? So as we are just assuming someone is trying to make an API call, request 1 is allowed, then request 2 is allowed. We are waiting for another 10 seconds, right? So let's just see how this works. Then request 3. So what is going to happen is that once we get to request 5 allowed, and once we get to request 6, we are going to deny it because we say that within a minute we only allowed 5 API requests. So once that 6 is denied, we reset we reset the rate limiter again. So that's what's currently going on here now. So look at this: request 5 is allowed, request 4 is allowed, request 6 shouldn't be allowed. You see now, you say request 6 denied, rate limit reached. That is, we already, if for example, someone to try to attack, run a kind of malicious attack on our system, multiple times, or is trying to overload our server. What has happened here is that we've already stopped that request on the 6th time, and then we are resetting it back. And then look at it now: request 7 is allowed, request 8 down to request 10 is going to be allowed. You get it now? So that is how the fixed windows work. So let me just go through it again. What we did here is that, here we try to declare a struct rate limiter here, and then we initiate this new rate limiter function here, and then we pass in the maximum request, then the number of intervals, and then we are pointing to the struct here. So basically that's what we did here, and then we call the new rate limiter. We pass the number. Let's say for example you specify 2 here. That is what you are trying to do. Once you change it to 2, it means you are allowing 2 requests per minute. So if anybody wants to make a request to the 3rd time, the system is going to deny that person, and then the system is going to reset back to 0 again. So that is how fixed window works. So let's check the other algorithm here. So yeah, I made some explanation as well. So this example allow 5 requests per minute for this fixed one. Each time allowed is called, it check if the current request can't exceed the limit. I've explained all of this. Okay, so let's go to the sliding window rate limit. I really like this sliding window algorithm because it's flexible. So I said it here so that the sliding window algorithm is a little more flexible. So instead of counting requests in strict chunks of time, it allows requests in a moving window. So what did I mean here? Like, how does this work? So I said, imagine a conveyor belt where items move continuously. As new requests are added to one end, old requests fall off the other. So it's just like, let's say for example now you have 1 2 3 4 5 6, right? Let's say you have that kind of list in a bucket. So let's say for a particular time, once that thing is moving, right, you are starting the counting from 2 3 4 5 6. As that window is moving, you are dropping the first number. Don't forget that I said we are having 1 2 3 4 5, right? And then as the windows is moving, we are picking 2 3 4 5 6. As 6 is moving, as 2 is moving, we are starting from 3, right? I think that explanation makes sense. Okay, if now this is the implementation here, and then maybe you'll be able to understand better once we run this code here. So let me just copy this here, and then let's go to VS Code. I'm just going to clear this out because we are done with this fixed, and then paste this sliding window here, and let me close this terminal for now because we don't need it. So what are we doing here as well? Okay, what we are trying to do here is to create we are trying to create a struct, right? Sliding window rate limiter, which take the timestamps, right? The timestamps here, and then we take this maximum request interval log, the same thing that we did the other time, and then we try to initiate this this sliding window here, pointing to this sliding window rate limiter struct here. Okay, so we are passing in the maximum request, and then the interval is a bit similar. Here also we are also declaring the allow, and then the same thing, the way the logs work in the other what I showed you the other time. That's the thing that is good, that is happening here. But the difference now is that now we are now saying removing timestamp older than the interval. So every time we make a request, we are adding the time into something like an array, right? So we are adding. I'm going to log these. Let me log something out here, log.print, so that you're able to see what is going on here. So let me log s.timestamp, okay, so that we can be able to see. Oh, okay, let me log it from here because we're already appending it here. So let me do it here. Yeah, so we're able to see what is going on. At every time you are making a request, we are adding the number of time you are making that request into something like an array, right? So at every time you are making a request, once it's reached the maximum we set, right, you will not be able to make a request until that interval elapses. So now when that interval elapses, by the time you are picking up another one, we are dropping the first timestamp, right? I'm picking from the second one. down again like that. So let me run this code. You'll be able to understand what I'm trying to say now. So let me run this code here. New terminal, and then let's say go run this main, so I can be able to see what is going on here. So request one allowed, just like what we did the other time. So we are setting the timer here to, so look at what happens there. You see this, you see the timer now. This is the first time we make this request, right? Look at it. What if you notice something has happened here? Okay, let me stop this request so that we can see what is going on here. Now, you know, when we make the first request, we add the timer, right, into this inside this array here. Now, by the time we make another API call, I mean, so to say, okay, so by the time we make another API call, now we are adding another second time that will make that API call inside another array. We are appending it into it. So now we have number one here, we have number one time here, and then we have the second timestamp here. So this is the first timestamp here, right? And then this is the second timestamp here. So by the time we get to 5, because we are specifying only 5 here, right? That is, we should be able to make an API call 5 times. And by the time we add this, by the time we make 5 requests, we should be saying 5 timestamp here. Let's see that at work here. So let me run this again. I'm just taking my time to explain so that we'll be able to understand what is going on. So let's just wait and see. So this is request one allowed. Okay, see, we have request two allowed. Don't forget, now we're having 2 timestamp here. So, and there is, okay, when this guy is running, let me show us something here. Let me show us a condition here. So here now we are now saying that allow request if we have room within the window. That is, here now we are checking the length of the timestamp. This array here that we are getting, we are checking the length. But if it's still not up to 5, we are going to allow the request. Okay, so if that's not up to 5, this timestamp, if it's not up to 5, we are going to allow. But once it's more than 5, we are not going to allow the request. So we need to wait till when after 1 minute, then we pick up. Look at what happened here now. So let me take this up here, and then let me stop the system. Okay, let me just allow you to run. So now, if you see now what is going on here, we have request 1 allowed, and then we have this timestamp here. Then request 2, we have 2 timestamp. But by the time we get to the 5th request, let me stop it so that we can see. So by the time we get to the 5th request here, where is it? Yeah, this is the 5th request. We already have 5 timestamp inside this array. So, but by the time we now get to the 6th, the request was denied, right? We didn't allow it to go through because we already have 6. Okay, but after that 6, what happened was that now let's see something here. So just take note of something. You know, take note of this first timestamp here. I think it ends here. Yeah, it ends here. You know, the timestamp is saying that 002128. Now this is the first time that we make that request. Now when we get to this 51, just take note, the time is still the same, 002128. But by the time we get to the 6th one, see what happens there. We pick another new timer was picked there. The second one, the second timestamp here was the one that was picked here. So we removed the first one and then we roll over to the second timer. We start from the second timer. Do you understand now? So that's how it slides. It's just like when something is sliding, right? As it's moving, you are cutting off the first one, you are moving to the second one. As the whole thing is moving, once it gets to the particular time you set, you will remove the start word as the first again, right? You begin from the second one, you increase the number of time again. So that is how it just works. Okay, so that's how the sliding window works. So now basically that's what we're just trying to do here in our code. So we are now saying that if the length of that timestamp, right, if it exceeds if it's more than 5, right, we are returning false. But if it's still that range of 5, okay, so we are still going to allow the request. At the 6th time, we are going to stop that request because we set 5 here. But let's say we set 2 here, right? By the time we make first request, second request, you know, the timestamp is going to be 2 inside that array, right? Then we are going to stop the 3rd request, right? We're going to stop the 3rd request and then wait. If it's still within that 1 minute interval that we set, if it's still that 1 minute interval that we set, Once it elapsed, then we pick up instead of us resetting like the fixed window. In this particular sliding, we will not reset. What we just have to do is just to pick from the second one and continue like that. So it makes this sliding window algorithm, it's, to me, I feel it's more flexible, and then I find it's really interesting than the fixed window. So if you have any question, I'm just going to be dropping the link to the articles. If you still want to read further, you can just go through that article, right? And then if you have any question, just feel free to drop your question in the comment section. If you really enjoyed this video, if you like this video, kindly hit the thumbs up. Please kindly do that for me. And then if you have not yet subscribed to my YouTube channel, this is an opportunity for you to subscribe. If I have some other interesting videos on my channel, you can definitely check them out. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this video. See you guys in my next video. Bye.